I want to share in the last session about influential intentionality, leading by design. I put this together kind of on the airplane on the way because I was like, what do I feel like doing on the last session? And you know, when you talk about environments, you talk about leadership, you talk about vision. Everything we've been talking about really dovetails into this very point, if you think about it. Every one of you are entrepreneurs, business owners, in some capacity leadership, maybe influencing others. But leadership and your organization, how you lead it, is by design. It's not automatic. And I was sharing, some of you that weren't here yesterday, I was sharing where our own organization, I made the assumption that everybody was on track knowing where we're going. And so like I shared, you know, I heard the story once, a husband and wife were sitting in front of a pastor, and the wife was saying, you know, he never tells me he loves me. He never tells me he loves me, and I'm over it. And she looked at him, the pastor looked at him and said, what's your problem? Why haven't you told her? He said, when we got married, I said, I do and I love you. I didn't need to say it again. Right? But I mean, you know, we need reassurance. We need to hear I love you. We need to hear that. And it's the same as vision. When we start sharing vision, we need to be able to be recommunicating, recalibrating, realigning with the people around us. But if we don't have it clear, how are we going to communicate it to those around us? Yeah? And so I think I'm not taking away anything from what David was sharing. I'm hoping to build upon what he was sharing, because part of my dimension, and I've seen this even when David's been up at our marketplace retreat on the Gold Coast. It was there July with us. We had our event. And it's almost like we have this tag team motion where I like to handle some of the practicality stuff, the mindset stuff, the practical leadership and things. And I leave David to handle the spiritual dimension, because he does it so well. And I'm like, I don't want to take him off that. And I'm finding the same thing as we've been now. It's been this like weaving together of the natural and the supernatural, just weaving this tapestry together. And I've been enjoying it. And I'm just thinking nothing's taking away or contradicting each other, but it's actually building a strong foundation to move forward. That's what I'm seeing through this whole time. So I'm grateful for the last session he shared. But at the end of the day, you know, we're at a Kingdom Influencers retreat, right? Right? So right, just checking, right? Then I'm at the right retreat, right? This is not a yoga fest or anything else. This is Kingdom retreat. And so if you think about what is leadership, leadership is influence. And influence is leadership. So if I'm at a Kingdom Influencers retreat, what I'm saying is I'm at a retreat with a whole lot of Kingdom influencers and Kingdom leaders. Because every single person, every single child of God is meant to be a leader in their field, in their sphere. Wherever they're leading, you're influencing. You may be leading a corporate organization or a stock-listed company. You may be leading a small contracting company. It doesn't matter. But you're leading someone. I love it. John Maxwell was at an MBA talk in one of the universities in America, and one of the students asked him, hey, what's one of the best lessons you can give us here? Like, if there's one takeaway out of everything, like, what would you like to leave us with? And he said, learn to lead yourself. Like, out of everything he could have said, he said, learn to lead yourself. And I think that's so vital, that if we can't learn to, you know, rewire us, take our thoughts captive, discipline our minds, but lead ourselves daily, how can we lead others? Right? And so it was one of the greatest lessons I learned from him, was how do I come back and start leading myself first? Okay? I heard this saying, and somebody texted me the other day and said, oh, you know, praying for you, and, you know, just go with the flow. And I thought with it, but there was something about that didn't resonate with me. I never replied to it. It's family, so I left it. I will reply. But I thought about it, even on the plane I was thinking about it. I thought, you don't go with the flow, you create the flow. Right? And because that's what came to me. The Spirit, straight away, the Spirit of God said, you don't go. I'm not talking about not being led, so just come back to, in context to what I'm saying. As leaders and influencers and entrepreneurs and business people, you create your flow. You create your flow into your organization. You create your flow out of your organization. You create the flow of the Spirit in your organization. You create the flow of vision, direction. But it all starts with you. You have to be the one, the tap that turns on the flow, and you create the flow, right? Once we know assignment and you're aligned, it's like go. Unless I hear stop, I'm going. And so we've got to turn that tap on and influence our organizations, right, and our teams. Can I ask for that? Well, let me try to see if this works. I'll point it at the computer. Ha! On the 4th session. Never quit. But vision is the friend of every leader, helping you keep perspective and stay on course. Without hope in the future, there is no power in the present. Right? With no hope of the future, there's no power in the present. And I think in our organization, when we talk about vision and influence, if I'm not continuously communicating where are we going, how are we going, what is the vision of where we're going, there's no power or fuel in the present moment to drive people through the obstacles, the challenges, the fears, the anxieties, the hurdles, whatever may come, COVID, whatever it is. But we've got to be able to see past it. This whole AI thing, some people are fearful and not leaning into it. But, hey, if we can't see the possibilities, you won't tap into the power at present. And I think that's so important with vision. I have to have one scripture, as I told you. I have to have one scripture. So I want to talk, the first key I want to give you is lead the way and make it clear. Lead the way and make it clear. You all know the scripture says, where there's no vision, my people perish. Another translation, it actually talks about that they scatter. So where there's no vision, my people scatter. So think about that from a CEO point of view, from a managing director point of view, from a general manager, whatever it is. Where there's no vision and direction, people scatter. Let me bring that back quickly, because I believe working from the home out. Whether you're husband or wife in business together or not, it's irrelevant. But, if you're not in business together, are they supporting your vision? Does your family know your vision? Because sometimes when you go through hard times, when the family know and the family unit is in agreement, there's power there. There's a flow there, right? But I've got to bring it back to the home to go, do they know the vision? So that they don't scatter in difficult times. Then I bring that back into my organization. And recently, I did the test, and no one's fault but myself. I asked our executive team, we had leaders, executive team, directors, and we were sitting around the boardroom table. And I just threw out the question. I go, what's our vision? What's our mandate? And it's not that they were wrong. It's just that everyone was communicating it in a different perception. So what's so bad about that? Well, the problem is everybody interprets information differently. So when you take that to 100 people outside that room, 200 people outside that room, what do you think is going to happen when your exec team and your core team are communicating what seems to be different? They're meaning the same thing. And everybody's interpreting it differently. What do you think is going to happen through the organization? Chaos. People scatter. Because what is the actual vision? What's our mandate? What's our purpose? Where are we going after? What is it that we're actually trying to reach? But you know what it did for me? Is it gone, I've got to come back to the bunker, to that intimate place and say, Papa, how would you like me to articulate this? How would you like me to rectify this? How would you like me to communicate this to get everybody back on the same page? But out of that place, it was awesome what happened. It became clearer, sharper, more effective. Now everybody's got it and go, we can run with that. We can talk the same language. Sometimes it's simplifying the vision, not overcomplicating the vision. You're with me? This is important stuff. I believe there's so much power when we have vision and purpose for our lives, for our organizations. But I think it's more powerful when we can communicate it, but not that it's our voice, that the team around us can communicate the vision. There's something so powerful behind that. I think you already got half your victory when you can get to that place. Yeah? But for me, it's about asking a few questions. David touched on it now. It's about, what's my vision? My vision is not having the biggest contracting company or, agriculture company or food processing company. That's the vehicle. But what's the vision of that vehicle? And I think when you connect that, Simon Sinek talks about the why factor. When you when you can actually establish and communicate that why factor attached to your vehicle, all of a sudden it affects motivation levels. And I'll talk about that in a moment. It has a different fuel that begins to drive, okay? But you have to start asking these questions. Where is it we're going? How are we going? And why are we going there? And I think often people can ask where we're going or how we're going to go, but sometimes people can't answer why we're going there. And I think the why for me, when things are difficult, when things are challenging, that why for me is the thing that's going to help you and get up and keep going. That why is going to help your team get back up and keep going. You know, I've got an amazing, David's met our team, our exec team, and it doesn't matter the challenges we've been through. I've got guys I know, even now I'm not there this weekend, and there's challenges, and I've heard stuff, and I'm just like, I don't have to worry about it. I'm honestly so focused and present here, I'm not stressed out about what's happening there. Because I know they are so behind the vision, they'll figure out the solutions. But what happens when you don't have people with a why that know your why? You can't trust them to handle things because they don't know where we're going. And so the moment things start crumbling, they'll drop the ball. But it's getting them to get the heartbeat and the why we're doing it. When I'm not there, I don't have to worry about it. It's a powerful dimension when you start to move into that realm, right? The second thing you want to look at is your core values. All right? Your core values. And really where I'm leading with all this morning is talking culture. I'm going somewhere. If you don't have clear core values, right, how are you going to develop the culture you want to develop? I'm talking about leading by design, right? So I'll give you an example. If you go, well, you know, the community, we're all about community. We're kingdom people. We're about community. And I'm a developer, and all of a sudden now I get this opportunity, and I can make 10, 20, $30 million. But it's going to negatively impact the community. Does that deal line up with my core value system? So how can I put something on my wall that money will override? Is it a real value system? You know, we were talking earlier about, do we carry a culture of honor? And in your staff, maybe disgruntled and deal with a client wrong, and you go off at them, but you walking around in a mood, and the team around you are too scared to be around you because you're just lashing out at them all the time. Are we in breach of our culture, our core values? I believe when we've got clear values lined up, we make easier decisions. Right? We make simpler decisions, and we can make quicker decisions. That lines up with our core values, or that doesn't. That's not for me, that is for me. That's for our organization, that's not for our organization. Right? And I think just having that value system, you know, I think it has a big impact in every decision we make and where we go. But I think it has a bigger impact in the actual culture that we begin to create. You're with me? Think about Jesus, right? I told you I'm not going to preach, but his mandate was go. The Great Commission, right? So his whole mandate was go. That's our mission, is people, right? But when he had core values. He was like, man, we heal people. We set people free. We deliver people. We had to release the kingdom, right? And he modeled it. He created this culture around the disciples that when he left, the disciples began to become what? Culture carriers, kingdom carriers. And they were just to carry on with the vision. So he communicated the vision. He showed what the vision looked like. He showed what the culture looked like. And then he leaves and says, now carry on, I'll come and fetch you one day. Right? And then we have the opportunity to carry on carrying that through our organizations, through our business. What's the number one thing that he's after? His people. How do we shine a light? With integrity. It doesn't matter if you're in financial planning, in real estate, whatever. You can shine your light. You can be the salt of the world through the way you establish your organization. But your team have to align to that culture. And people go, well, should I only have saved people or not? No. Do they align to my values? I don't care if you're a believer or not. Do you align to our value system? And if you align to our value system, our church, I hired a bookkeeper. She's not saved. Some people go, she's not saved. I said, no, but she's qualified. Seriously, I went through this processing. I've gone, comply with our value system. She doesn't know how to pronounce the word tithe, so I have to train her how to pronounce it. She said, is it a teeth? I said, no, it's tithe. But she's been a great asset to me. And I'll just be a salt and light, and she'll come to know him eventually, right? But it's how do you align that culture that even when somebody that's unsaved comes into that culture, they begin to experience kingdom culture in your organization. So you change them from the inside out. And I believe that's important to have that value system lined up, right? The other thing I want to just share with you is, John Maxwell has often said this, that a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. A leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. We got people watching us all the time as leaders. You got staff, you got family, you got kids, you got everything. And even clients are watching in. How do you deal with things? How do you manage things? And we actually have to be the person before we talk about the person. We have to be the culture carrier. We have to represent the culture, not just talk about it. There was somebody who once said, I forgot his name now, but he said, preach the gospel, and if you must, use words. Right? And I think that's so powerful that if we can put a value system up and cast a vision in our organizations and create that culture that we want to carry, and we live it, that we don't have to keep telling people, like point them to it. Go, you got to do that. They see it on you. They experience it on you, right? But then we keep communicating that vision to our team in the direction we're going to go. The next thing I want to talk about for a moment, well, actually, let me just stop here for a second. We've got some time, so I can do this. Just think about it for a moment, where you at. How many of you would say that I'm 100% clear with the vision for our organization? It's okay. That's fine. Just one. Okay. It's not a bad thing. I think it's just coming back to testing and adjusting and getting back into that secret place that David was talking about. Because it's go, Lord, what do you want for it? Show me, reveal it to me. Give me some kind of click that to go, I know without a shadow of a doubt, this is the vision. This is the purpose for me. You know what that word vision really talks about when you're talking in context of what David was sharing? It's the word kozone or kozone, right? It talks about divine revelation. So vision is not just like, oh, here's a blueprint, build that. It's a divine revelation that can only come from heaven for your life, for your business. And so, what did God do when he gave it to Moses or even to Solomon and David? He gave the blueprint to build. God has blueprints for you that he wants to download that you can get it in. And when you get the blueprint, you begin to articulate it and put it together and maybe even throw it into AI and let it give you a business plan, right? I'm just setting you up there, sir. All right? Right? And then you start putting legs to the visions. I believe one of my graces has always been to see strategy and then help put legs to vision. I'm wired in that way. I came to realize I thought I used to be the administrator type because I was detailed, but I came to realize I hate admin. And I've come to realize more and more I don't like finishing things. I need a team around me to help me, but because I like to start things. I can see things and how to put it together and get momentum in it. But I've come to realize, and this was only a couple of years back, Shaun, stop carrying everything and stop being a control freak and actually give it to people to do, right? That was my learning curve. But I want to encourage you that as you take those principles that David was sharing, I promise you it works. When you start to download that vision and begin to articulate it, you've got to be able to sit with yourself and look in the mirror and go, Lord, what is the vision for my business? And I'm talking about impactor, financer, kingdom financer, influencer, whatever you call me to be, right? And then just go after it. Don't worry about the perfection of it. So sometimes people get stuck in the perfection or not making mistakes. I love King David. I said I think it was you, Ethan, we were talking yesterday. I said, King David, God confused me. Because God said, David's a man after my own heart. I said, Lord, he's an adulterer, a murderer, a liar, a cheater, and lazy, because he wasn't where he was meant to be. But he just ran to me quickly. And I thought about that. I thought, don't be, if our hearts are right, there is a mercy that will catch us, pick us up if we miss the mark. As long as our hearts are aligned to the kingdom, God won't leave us there. His mercy's on you every day. So I don't have to be fearful of making mistakes in a sense. I'm not saying go blow $1 million, but, and go, oops. There's a process to come back from that, right? But I'm talking little things like, oh, Lord, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have moved there. Don't let fear restrict you from stepping out. Can I just pause there for a moment? I've met so many believers that are waiting on God to do something. And genuine, they believe it. They just want to honor Him. They want to love Him. They just don't want to miss the mark. And they do nothing. And it hurts them. It actually hurts them. It hurts them financially. It hurts them family. It hurts everything. And I'll never forget my father-in-law, Tony, David. He said to me once, he was saying to me, he said, Shaun, never forget this. All God requires from you is energy. And He will steer you. But if there's no energy, I tell you a story. When I was this high, so it was about there. Okay, it was a little while ago. My real father, my biological father, taught me to ride a bicycle. The problem was he wasn't the most diplomatic person, so he didn't get a bicycle that fitted me. I had a 18-speed road bike, right? The wheels that thin. And his driveway had this big drive-in driveway, this big fountain in the middle. It was gravel, like stone, loose stone. So picture this. You got a thin-wheel road bike, a kid that cannot touch the ground on gravel. You know what he said to me? He said, just keep pedaling. And he says, if you fall, I'll catch you. He lied. I wasn't there. But I got back up. But the same momentum, the same truth is that we're so scared to step out into vision, step out into what God has for us. I'm not saying make radical mistakes, and I'm not saying we don't wait on the Lord. But if you're waiting from a purpose, and I'm only sharing this because I feel by the Spirit I need to say this. If we're waiting on God out of like we don't want to miss you and upset you and miss your call, but we never do anything, it's going to hurt us more. But I believe as we pedal the bicycle into vision, into destiny, with our ears attuned, what He often does is He steers us and guides us, and the vision gets clearer. It gets clearer. We start communicating it better. Eventually we get to a place where we're in that pinnacle, in that sharp place, in that sweet spot. Right? Yeah. Think about Joseph. He communicated the vision that God gave him, but he went down this spiral of like, this is not what I saw. But he kept his attitude right. He kept stirring his gifting in every season and every situation. And God used his gifting to promote him, to move him into the place of destiny. Eventually he got to a place of destiny where he was standing there going, this is the vision. The place of assignment is this place. I just felt I needed to. I didn't want to preach, but I just felt by the Spirit I needed to share that for somebody here this morning. Can I just go on to the next one? I really want to just camp here for a few moments, and we've got to give another 7 minutes, and we'll get into some Q&A. But the second part I really believe is important, that once we got our vision established and we're communicating, our atmosphere, our environment is key, right? Remember yesterday I shared with some of you the triangle? And remember we spoke about the childhood, the environment, and your life's experiences form your perception, form your bias, form everything. Your environment plays a massive impact psychologically, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're in the right environment here. There's a few things about that triangle. If you put that triangle kind of like with one line down and going like that, and you put childhood and experiences on the hinge, I call it the hinge factor, right? you may not be able to change your experiences. You may not be able to change your childhood. You can change the way you see it and perceive it and the meaning you've had in it to rewire yourself, right? But what you can do always is change your environment, right? So no environment, no situation, no circumstance should hold you hostage, right? You can change environment. But you can also change the environment in your organization, right? So sometimes you have to go in there and go, listen, this is how it's going to be, right? This is our value system. This is the culture. Are you in or out? I would love you to be in, but I can also help you out. And why am I saying that? Not to be ruthless or cold or an unbeliever, right? But to the detriment of the majority, it's important. They did a study, okay, on 3 environments they found. There's 3 types of environment. You can have a toxic environment, you can have what you call a standard environment, and you can have what you call an enriched environment. Now, toxic is just like strife, moaning, complaining, bickering. It's just ugly. You ever been in environments that it's just ugly, right? Then you get what they did. They did a test with rats, right? And they put them under scans, and they monitored them and saw what was happening. They put them in a standard environment, a blank cage, only water and food, and no other. Maybe I think there was 2 or 3 other rats in there, but very minimal. And there was no stimuli. There was nothing happening in them. It was just the same old, same old. So we can find ourselves in environments that doesn't stimulate us, doesn't challenge us. We're not, that stress, they talk about stress, that there's unhealthy stress and there's good stress. Do you know that the research shows you should have a stress level in your life? Because when there's no stress, there's no growth, there's no wiring, there's no creativity, there's no juices, there's no opportunities happening. When you're in that place I was talking about the previous session, where you're in that over-anxiety place, it's destructive. But there has to remain a portion of stress where you're stimulated enough to be able to find solutions. So the third environment they put the rats in was what you call it an enriched environment. And in the enriched environment, they put wheels in there, little climbing things, water holes. They did a whole lot of things. And what they found, they kept moving it around, changing it up, everything. The rats that had community, stimuli, things were changing up all the time. It wasn't the same old, same old. There was something that happened. Their whole attitude, the way they responded, everything was in a whole complete different state. They thrived. So we can create, you say, okay, well, give me a practical example. I'll give you a practical example. When you do some leadership training and you bring your team in to do some creative think tanking, let's hypothetically say we had 10 people in our team. Or let's go, this is our team. This is the team. Say hi, team. You guys are the team. Look at each other, say hi, welcome to the team. There you go. So you guys are sitting here, you're part of the team, and now we're doing a brainstorming session. And all of a sudden we start asking questions, going, what's some ideas? Out of this room, you're going to have maybe 20% that will respond, and the rest won't opt in because of their personalities. You're going to have the extroverts that want to have the answer for everything, and the introverts that may have great solutions are keeping quiet. So now when I take the same room and I break it into 4, you ask the same questions, the same things, you're going to have different people, different solutions start coming up. You break that group even in smaller group, you're going to have even different results, because now you're forcing the introverts to actually come to the table. So the results show up completely different. Can you see that? Right? And so that's the thing is we want to be able to create environments for us that are stimulating, that are healthy, that are producing the right cognitive behavior, thinking, creativity. Because you know what, as a leader, don't know if you've realized that, but I don't have every answer. And probably my team, they got better answers than I do. My job as a leader is by design to create the environment for creativity to come up and for solutions to come out, and then manage that process forward. As stewards, we're called to steward the giftings that are put in our place. Doesn't matter if you're in the ministry or in the business, it's the exact same responsibility. Let me say to this. If you're a CEO or a director or owner, you are the shepherd of your organization. Yes. That's right. You are the pastor of your organization. Yes. This whole thing of fivefold ministry and us, we separate, they do that. No. You're the prophet, you're the evangelist, you're the pastor. Come on, you're the teacher in your organization. And you have a responsibility to create the environment that your team can flourish. Because if your team flourishes, what do you think happens to the organization? It flourishes, right? So here's a few questions you just need to go back and think about. You're getting something out of this. I said to David, the last session, I'm coming in light. I'm just going to dump a few passion projects, a few passion things for you, right? But we've got to foster a good culture. How many of you think at the moment that there's some changes you can do in your organization with culture? I think we can all, I know I can. But it starts with me. I've got to go, what culture do I want? How does that culture align with my vision and purpose and assignment? Because remember this as well. Every employee, every contractor, subcontractor, whatever it is, they're not always going to buy into your assignment, per se. But you have to create a compelling vision and environment that causes them to come into alignment to support what's on your life. And that's by design. It's not automatic, right? I'm going to open, I'm finished a bit early anyway, but I just feel, can I go to that last slide? Everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership falls on everything you do. Everything you do creates your environment, and your environment supports all you do. When you think about that, everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership falls on everything you do. Everything you do creates your environment, and your environment supports all you do. It's a loop, right? I want to just open up to some Q&A. I know it's a pretty basic session I've given. I haven't gone into all the detail of, neurologically how it all affects, but the right environment definitely starts to wire people differently. When you have a compelling vision, a compelling why factor, there is an association. People start associating things. You know, when somebody says, I hate my job. Anybody ever heard people go, I don't like my job? Right? My question to them is, why do you hate your job? Well, I don't like what I do. And I just ask them, reframe them and go, when last did you go on holiday? Yeah, well, 2 months ago. I was like, how did you pay for that? Is your kid in school? Yeah. Food? Yeah. But you still hate your job. So what am I doing? I'm trying to reassociate, give a new meaning to your job. That you may not be at the place you want to be, but it could be a lot worse. And when you reframe and relook at where you're at, know that it's just a journey and a process. The next holiday is dependent whether you actually start to like your job. Right?